Hey everyone, this is James, your openly gay blind metalhead. It's been a while since I've done a video, quite a while, and this isn't going to be a metal related video, although I'll have a few of those coming up here soon. What I wanted to talk about today was what I don't think really gets talked about a lot when it comes to the anti-vaccine movement, and I tried to make a video about this here. I was either last year or the year before, I can't remember which, but it was sometime around then, and I had some technical difficulties, and then I just moved on and was just doing other things. But yeah, this is going to be about the vaccines cause autism debate, and a part of it that I don't really think it's talked about enough. So in the interest of full disclosure, and for those who may not know, I'm completely against the anti-vaccine movement. And I'm against it because it's really not about science. It's really not about vaccines at all. It's really about fear-mongering, and in the end, it's really about demonizing the autistic. And real quick description in a few words or less, the anti-vaccine movement, as we know it now, was started by Andrew Wakefield, who wrote a fraudulent paper claiming that there was a link between the MMR vaccine and autism, that the vaccine caused autism. And the paper was retracted a few years later, or the paper was spoken out against in the early 2000s, especially around 2003, if I remember right, and then was officially retracted in 2009. But by then, the damage had been done, and for all these years now, you've pretty much had all these autism parents running around about how their kid was okay until they got the vaccine, and once they got the vaccine, hours or days later, they stopped saying the few words that they knew, the light went out of their eyes, and they wouldn't engage with anybody anymore. Well, last time I checked, that's not how autism operates. You don't gain speech and then suddenly lose it again, only to regain it or even lose it permanently. I've never heard of autism working like that. And what it's eventually led to with this belief that vaccines cause autism that Andrew Wakefield had put forth is many parents just not vaccinating kids at all when they hear about this movement and Wakefield's fraudulent ideas, especially if they hear about them before they have kids. And so once they decide not to vaccinate them, then you have implications for public health, because obviously this runs the risk of bringing back diseases that were once either extinct or at least so rare that few people got them anymore. And this public health issue also has public health implications for people who, either because of HIV or anti-rejection drugs, don't have fully functioning or even normally functioning immune systems, so they can easily get sick from unvaccinated men, women, or children. And then it also runs the risk of getting unvaccinated kids and other kids sick as well. But in the end, it also has other implications for the autistic community, in that it basically continues to demonize them. It continues to demonize them because you have a lot of these autism parents who already think that autism should be cured, and you have a lot of them who put their kids in ABA therapy, which, like many people who are in the autistic community, I think the way autistic people do, that it's abuse. Or I should clarify, the way some autistic people think, because there are certain autistic people who have essentially still agreed with ABA therapy. And although I'm not in the autistic community myself, I still don't agree with it, and I see a lot of parallels between it and gay conversion therapy. And the anti-vaccine movement only plays into this, and that it continues to look at autism as something that needs to be treated or cured, So it continues to look at it as a pathological condition. But only this time it's not refrigerator moms or all the other theories behind the root cause of autism. Now it's tainted vaccines cause your kid's autism. And at first, the idea was that thimerosal was the component within vaccines that would cause it, and so they removed thimerosal, and they also made sure to keep mercury out of it. But yet, we now see that in today's age, it really doesn't matter what component in the vaccine they try to blame. They blame the vaccines themselves, and this is not an accident. This is the way it's supposed to be, because the movement isn't about, if you just take XYZ component out of the vaccine, it'll be fine. The whole objective of the movement is to demonize vaccines themselves and supplant other root causes of autism with this one, that the vaccines cause it. And of course, the implication being that if we can just either get rid of vaccines or make sure that kids are not given them, then that'll make sure that either autistic kids are either cured or that no more kids will be autistic. And of course, that gives some well-meaning parents false hope that their kid won't be autistic and won't have some of the co-occurring disabilities that come along with autism, like seizures and various other things. And for the well-meaning parents who believe this, it's unfortunate that they are taken advantage of in this way. But if they end up deciding to go along with it, then they are still adults responsible for their own decisions. And if they end up not getting their kids vaccinated, whether they're autistic or not, then they're only adding to the problem. And then you have other people who, particularly mainstream scientists, who say that there is not, nor was there ever, any link between vaccines and autism, and they call Andrew Wakefield for the liar that he is. They go on to say that all the vaccines are safe and that there's no components within them that can cause autism. And this is all, as far as things go with Andrew Wakefield and others who think the way he does, all this has been debunked by mainstream science. And they basically say that whatever the cause of autism is, it's not vaccines. And this leads into what I wanted to talk about for the remainder of this video, which is that if somebody was to ask me which side do I agree with in terms of the debate between whether or not the debate between pro and anti-vax people and the debate of is autism caused by vaccines, my view is actually this, that while I support the mainstream science that shows that there's no link between autism and vaccines, I don't agree with either side of the debate. For reasons that should be obvious, I don't agree with the people that are saying that their kids' autism was caused by vaccines, as well as the crowd who supports them in this. I don't agree with that because it continues to perpetuate ableism against the autistic, continues to view them as the problem and something in need of curing. And if you replace autistic with gay, well, then you pretty much have the same debate around gay conversion therapy and and many other aspects of that subject. And so that's something to think about there as well. And so I definitely don't agree with the side that is supportive of the idea that autism is caused by vaccines. But the reason I don't agree with the other side that says that autism is not caused by vaccines is because they still continue to, when they say that autism isn't caused by vaccines and science has proven this, most of them still go on to say that we don't really know what the cause of autism is, and then some will even talk about how we still need to do research to find the cause of it. Well, what's the implication of trying to find the cause of something? Well, the implication is that you would need to find the cure for it. And therein lies the issue. Both sides are wrong because both sides still continue to see autism as something to be cured, something to be figured out, and the root cause of which to be found, and then the cure to be found so we can get rid of it out of the population. Well, there's a term for that. It's called eugenics. And like people who are in the autistic community, I don't think there's anything wrong with being autistic any more than I would think there's anything wrong with being gay or a woman or any other aspect of humanity that's not actively or indirectly harming other people. So my view on the whole subject is that autistic people have the right to exist as they are, and any sort of challenges they have treated accordingly, but in ways that takes into consideration their situations. For example, if there's autistic people who have the co-occurring disabilities of seizures, then treat the seizures. If they're having meltdowns to the point of self-injurious behavior, like hitting their head into the wall and various other things, then number one, you're supposed to be making sure that you're doing what you can to see that the meltdown isn't occurring in the first place. And if it does happen, you need to do the things that take into account the person's sensory stimulation and many other things so that the meltdown doesn't progress to self-injurious behavior. And also look at whatever other situations are going on with the autistic person in their environment that might be at the root of the self-injurious behavior, because they can still self-injure just like any non-autistic person for many of the same reasons: past abuse, past trauma, high anxiety because of current situations going on, and so on and so forth. But the answers to helping people with autism are not going to be found within the anti-vaccine movement, nor any of the similar movements that demonize autism and perpetuate ableism against the autistic. And one final thing before I close off with this video, one of the people that I haven't mentioned yet who's a huge anti-vaxxer is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is different from Andrew Wakefield in that Kennedy's talked about several times about how he's pro-vaccine and all his kids are vaccinated. To me, that's similar to the "I'm not a racist, I have friends who are black," or I'm not racist, I have a spouse who's black, and I've got biracial kids," or whatever other example you can think of. Because the reality is that Kennedy has talked about how vaccines can still be dangerous, and what makes him different than Wakefield is not just that he claims to be pro-vaccine, although he goes on to say that he's pro-safe vaccines, and that the science needs to be examined further to make sure that they are safe. But what makes him even more different than Wakefield is that Kennedy talks about how vaccines can be dangerous because of vaccine companies being so interested in their profit margins and making money that they could easily turn a blind eye to the ingredients being put in the vaccines, and in an effort to save money or even possibly make more, they might put ingredients in that might make them cheaper, but also might be causing the problems in the brain that might be causing autism. And this almost sounds similar to, I could easily hear somebody making the comparison that it's kind of like the tobacco companies, how they doctored their science to try to make it look like cigarettes were safe when they really weren't. Well, the problem with anybody that would make that argument is that vaccine companies and tobacco companies are not even comparable in any way. The tobacco companies made a product that, by its very nature, was dangerous and even harmful and also deadly. Vaccine companies make no such product whatsoever. Their products are made with achieving safe and medical objectives in mind. But that's the angle that Kennedy comes from, is he's pro-vaccine, but he's anti-corporate interest that could lead to abuses of science to make vaccines that could possibly be dangerous in the name of these vaccine companies and corporations making relentless profit. Well, within the last several years, Kennedy has come out in complete opposition to all vaccines and just barely giving lip service to any of the ideas of being for safe vaccines. Because when you listen to him talk pretty much at more length, he talks about all the dangers of vaccines, which pretty much can be summed up as, I'm basically pro-vaccine, which is what he would say. Okay, so which vaccines are you for? Well, I'm for safe vaccines. Okay, well, which safe vaccines are you for? Well, we still need to do more research on it, and we still need to wait for the science. In other words, he's not for any vaccines, safe or otherwise. The reason I bring up Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is that as of February 13th, 2025, he was confirmed as our new head of Health and Human Services here in the United States. Given all of his disturbing anti-vaccine rhetoric and anti-autistic rhetoric, along with a bunch of other pseudoscientific bullshit, coupled with one statement he made where he said that chemicals in the water were making kids gay and transgender. Yeah, sound familiar? Yeah, gay frogs, Alex Jones, stuff like that. Now, what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. specifically said about chemicals in water making kids gay and trans is he said something to the effect of, and let me get in my best Robert F. Kennedy Jr. impression. Well, they have all these chemicals now in the water that they're getting in the water and then getting in the systems of especially kids, and then they're causing the kids to have sexual dysphoria. So, yeah, he didn't say the words, they're making them gay and transgender, but sexual dysphoria, you pretty much know what he means. So, yeah, that's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., our new head of Health and Human Services. And given his disturbing rhetoric that I just mentioned and have talked about throughout this video, I am legitimately very concerned about what this is going to mean for everybody here, especially the autistic and other various people within the neurodivergent community. I worry about what's going to happen with unvaccinated kids. Oh, and then we also can't forget about how in 2019, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. went down to Samoa and basically gave a bunch of anti-vaccine propaganda to the people down there. And because they listened to him and didn't vaccinate any of the people down there, especially kids, this led to a huge outbreak of, I believe it was measles down there. And scientists have come out after that in recent years and said unequivocally that these outbreaks were absolutely a direct effect and a direct result of Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s anti-vaccine propaganda. So the illnesses and deaths of these people are directly, the blood of which is directly right on the hands of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And this is the guy that we have as our head of Health and Human Services, just recently appointed. So I find that really disturbing, and I'll continue to make more videos talking about this. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. So everybody have a good evening. Thank you for watching. And if you like the video, like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Speech on. Pause video. Stop recording video. Button.